Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men, number 214, cover dated February 1984. And this issue marks the final collaboration between Chris Claremont and Barry Windsor-Smith, the fourth and final one. The cover, though, is not by Windsor-Smith alone. The pencils are by Art Adams, and it's inked by Barry Windsor-Smith. And more than that, to say about the cover is that it is Art Adams' version of this particular panel, interior panel by Windsor-Smith, where Storm is taking on Dazzler, who is possessed by the marauder Malice. So let's open up the issue to the splash page. And the story starts in Denver, Colorado, at the Raven concert venue, where Lila Cheney here, this is her first appearance, is giving a rock concert, and her keyboard player happens to be, though you wouldn't know from the hair color, but maybe from the earrings, turns out to be Alison Blair Dazzler. So Lila's giving it socks on the stage, and we, in the meantime, hone in on Alison and the fact that she is possessed by this character Malice. And what indicates that Malice has possessed someone is that they find themselves wearing this collar. So Malice manipulates Alison Dazzler into feeling envious regarding Lila hogging the stage and the limelight as lead singer. And so Dazzler lets rip with a light show that stuns and wows the audience, who love it, it turns out. But after the gig is over, Lila confronts Dazzler and asks her, in this panel here, got a reason for that stunt you pulled? Dazzler responds, it felt right. And Lila says, fair enough, do it again, you're fired. So basically Dazzler decides, you know what, she is not going to run and hide anymore. She's through settling for crumbs and playing second best, because she is going to take away the top slot from Lila in that bottom panel. So over the page, and we get a half splash. We find ourselves back at the X Mansion here. And this issue takes place in the aftermath of the Mutant Massacre storyline, where the Marauders massacred the Morlocks in the tunnels under New York. And they also badly injured a number of X-Men, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Shadowcat. So the X-Men's roster is down to Storm, Rogue, a new member who joined in the previous issue, Betsy Braddock, Psylocke, as well as Wolverine. So they're really short-staffed, so to speak. And here is Rogue taking a look at the remains of Cerebro, because in the previous issue, Sabretooth, one of the Marauders, made his way into the X-Mansion and tore the place apart, including in particular Cerebro. So the creative team here is Chris Claremont, writer, as you would expect. Barry Windsor-Smith, only penciler in this issue. So unlike the previous three collaborations, issues 186, 198, and 205, Windsor-Smith is not co-plotting this story. Neither is he inking himself, because the inker here is Bob Wiacek, who inked Windsor-Smith's pencils back in issue 186. And the colorist is series regular Glynis Oliver, and the letterer series regular Tom Orzechowski. So over the page here, and while the ladies dialogue about what's happened in previous issues, the scene switches to Wolverine and Callisto, who are dueling in the Danger Room, and Betsy makes a psi-link with Storm so that they both can observe the two fighting in the Danger Room. Betsy is horrified. She thinks they have to stop the duel before someone's hurt. because they're the way that they're fighting, neither of them are holding back. But Storm tells her to relax and to trust their judgment. And a larger theme of this issue is trust among the X-Men. And it's something that is going to come to a denouement at the very conclusion of this particular story. So Wolverine and Callisto continue their duel there. As ever from Barry Windsor-Smith, just stunning choreography, fight choreography, and command of anatomy here. Tremendous penciling. And a good inking job by Wiacek. And with Wiacek inking Windsor-Smith, it's kind of an indication that maybe there was a tight turnaround in terms of getting the pencils in for this issue. There wasn't as much of a lead time as there was for issue 198, Life Death Part 2, and issue 205, Wounded Wolf. So again, we focus in on the duel between Callisto and Wolverine. Callisto throws her knife at Wolverine's throat, but he manages to deflect the knife with his adamantium claws. So, pretty cool stuff there. Then Wolverine talks with Psylocke, and he tests her by popping his claws, and she hits him with a Psy Blast, and he basically says to her, look, Sabretooth nailed you, darling, in the previous issue. I wanted to see if you could be caught off guard again. If you'd truly been an enemy, Wolverine, she responds, what makes you think you'd still be alive now to pass judgment? And so on and so forth. And again, this ties into that larger theme of trust between the X-Men. And of course, Betsy is a new member. Wolverine is an old hand by this point in Claremont's run. So they get a phone call from Lila Cheney, who seems to have an established relationship with Wolverine. Wolverine's one of those characters that knows practically everyone in the Marvel Universe. And what happens is Lila obviously lets the X-Men know that there's something up with Dazzler. And so the X-Men track Dazzler down to a nightclub in Dallas, where she's dancing and putting on a huge light show. The X-Men turn up. Wolverine says, this is very interesting from Wolverine, he says, why are we here, Storm? Allison's an adult. If she's tired of hiding out, it's her choice. So Storm basically responds that since the Marauders are out for X-Men blood, or anyone associated with the X-Men, they owe Dazzler, at the very least, a warning. So then we get stunning art here, the firework and light show display of Dazzler's powers by Barry Windsor-Smith. Amazing penciling once again. It makes me wonder, these 2 pages, what Windsor-Smith would have done himself if he was the colorist rather than Glynis Oliver. But I think she's been looking at his coloring jobs from 198 and 205 and is trying as much as she can to imitate that style of coloring for his work here. So the fight now continues between Dazzler, possessed by Malice, and the X-Men. Storm gets Dazzler into a lock, and then Malice jumps from Dazzler's psyche and enters Wolverine's. And again, as I said, what indicates that he's possessed by her is he finds himself wearing this collar. So he goes after the X-Men then, goes to kill Dazzler in particular, who's just recovering from being freed of Malice's possession. And she lashes out with her light powers and blasts Wolverine into unconsciousness. At that point, Rogue rashly rushes to Wolverine's aid, and Malice uses her proximity to jump into Rogue's psyche. Outside the nightclub, a Dallas police captain has arrived and is preparing to tackle what's going on inside. But before he can do so, the possessed Rogue flies out of the nightclub and attacks the police outside. Now, at this point in the issue, I think Windsor-Smith is running out of time, and we're going to see some, I guess it's negative to say, skimping on backgrounds. This indication of, I think it's I don't think this is shattered glass here, but this background in the nightclub, it looks a bit simple, too simple for Windsor-Smith. And of course, there's no backgrounds in these panels here. And same again, this page, no backgrounds. So Glynis Oliver using colouring there to suggest some kind of backdrop to the characters. And the characters are basically dialoguing about what to do to tackle this entity, Malice. Psylocke has used her powers, her psychic powers, to find out a little bit about this character. And while this is Lila Cheney's first appearance in comics, it's also Malice's first appearance in comics too. So we're all learning about her as we read this issue. Meanwhile, outside we see the aftermath of Rogue, the Malice-possessed Rogue, taking on the police. And this is an interesting plot point going forward. Malice ventriloquizes Rogue to say who she is, that her name is Rogue, and that she belongs to an outfit called the X-Men, in order to destroy the X-Men's reputation and break the trust of various characters in the Marvel universe regarding the X-Men, because it's all getting reported on television. So what happens then is Dazzler takes on Rogue, and with the assistance of Psylocke beats her. And then Malice makes her way into Ororo's psyche, which is a mistake, because Ororo is possessed of the willpower and spirit to beat Malice. And so with tremendous effort, she rips off the collar. And that marks the end of Malice's possession of the X-Men. But there's an aftermath to the story whereby the X-Men's reputation has been ruined publicly. Storm suggests to Allison, Dazzler, that she'd be better off joining them for protection. And so Dazzler appears to agree to that. And then what happens is we have this weird and interesting moment with Wolverine, whose senses tell him that Storm is still possessed by Malice. And so he prepares to kill her with the claws. But it turns out that she is not possessed, and that what's happened is that his senses that he usually trusts let him down. He says here, when I caught your scent, I thought you were Malice. But no. So Rogue is saying, in terms of whether Psylocke can be trusted, the only one who wasn't possessed in this issue or not, Rogue says maybe some things, Dazzler, have to be taken on faith. Dazzler responds, that's asking a lot. And Rogue says, if we can't trust ourselves anymore, and Wolverine picks up the point, then the time's come to pack things up and go our separate ways. Because in all the ways that really matter, the X-Men are through. But Ororo, Storm contends, not yet Wolverine, not without a fight. So at the end of this issue and at the end of the Mutant Massacre storyline, the X-Men have been beaten, physically injured, team members gone from the core team, but they've picked up new members, Psylocke and Dazzler. And yet there is this basic issue of whether they can trust each other, and if they can't trust each other, then they can't function as a team, because that's one of the key lessons of the X-Men comics under Claremont, that the X-Men function well together as a team, and a type of family as well, in which faith and trust in each other is incredibly important. And then in a type of epilogue, we see that the police captain has been possessed by Malice, and that Malice is convinced that the havoc she's wreaked with the X-Men means that she's won, because they no longer trust each other. So there you go. That is X-Men 214, the fourth and final collaboration between Chris Claremont and Barry Windsor-Smith. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this.